Your brain doesn't want you to improve your life. And that sounds dramatic at first, maybe even wrong. But the more you pay attention to how you think and act, the more you start to notice that improvement often feels uncomfortable, while staying the same feels strangely calming and familiar. This resistance you feel isn't a flaw in your personality. It's not laziness, and it's not a lack of discipline. It's something much more basic than that. It's a system that has been quietly guiding your behavior, long before you ever started trying to improve yourself. Most of the resistance you experience isn't personal at all. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It means your brain is doing something automatically, without asking for your opinion, based on patterns it learned a very long time ago. Your brain is built to automate as much of your life as possible. The more automatic something becomes, the less energy it costs to repeat it. And once a behavior feels automatic, your brain treats it as safe, predictable, and reliable. This is why staying the same often feels easier than changing. Not because change is impossible, but because change interrupts systems that are already running smoothly. And your brain doesn't like interruptions, even when those interruptions would clearly benefit you. Once you understand this, a lot of confusing behavior starts to make sense. Why you delay simple things, why you overthink small decisions, why improvement feels heavier than it should, even when you know exactly what to do. You already know what would help you. That's the frustrating part. Better sleep would help. Moving your body more would help. Starting earlier would help. None of this is complicated or mysterious. And yet, knowing doesn't automatically turn into action. Instead, you hesitate, you pause, you wait for the right moment. And that hesitation doesn't feel dangerous. It actually feels safe, calm, and reasonable. Your brain prefers hesitation because hesitation preserves the present. It allows you to stay exactly where you are, with no risk, no uncertainty, and no immediate cost. From your brain's perspective, doing nothing is often the safest possible choice. This is why hesitation can feel more comfortable than action. Action introduces uncertainty. Hesitation preserves familiarity. And your brain is deeply biased toward familiarity, even when familiarity is holding you back. Your brain values comfort more than improvement, not because improvement is bad, but because comfort feels predictable. And predictable environments require less attention, less effort, and less energy to survive in. Improvement, on the other hand, always feels uncertain. Uncertainty means new outcomes. New outcomes mean new risks. And risk, even small risk, demands more energy from your brain. Every new habit costs energy. Every decision costs energy. Even simple actions cost energy. And your brain is constantly trying to conserve energy, because energy, to the brain, equals survival. So without you realizing it, your brain is always asking one quiet question in the background. Can we survive without doing this? If the answer is yes, resistance naturally appears. That resistance doesn't feel dramatic or emotional. It feels logical. It feels reasonable. It feels like a calm inner voice saying, "There's no rush. This can wait." This is how comfort slowly becomes a trap. Not suddenly and not aggressively, but quietly over time. The more comfortable your life becomes, the heavier even small improvements start to feel. Not because those improvements are difficult, but because they challenge what already feels safe. They require stepping slightly outside a system that your brain has already decided works well enough. Here's the part most people misunderstand. Your brain rarely says, "I'm afraid." Fear doesn't usually sound emotional or dramatic. Instead, it sounds calm, rational, and patient. Fear sounds like, "I'll do it later," or "This isn't that important," or "Now isn't the right time." These thoughts feel intelligent, which makes them very easy to trust. But what they're really doing is protecting you from uncertainty. They help you stay exactly where you are, without forcing you to confront discomfort, even when discomfort would lead to growth. Your brain isn't broken, it's not weak, it's efficient. It was designed to keep you alive, not to push you toward improvement. In the modern world, survival often looks like comfort, which means your brain is very good at helping you stay comfortable, even when comfort slowly limits your potential. Understanding this doesn't magically remove resistance. You'll still feel it. You'll still hesitate. But now, that hesitation makes sense, and meaning changes how you respond to it. Instead of fighting yourself, you start observing the system at work. You notice when comfort is speaking. You notice when fear is disguised as logic. And that awareness creates space. Not space for motivation, not space for force, but space for choice. And choice is where change actually begins. When resistance appears, you stop treating it as a personal failure. You see it for what it is: a system trying to conserve energy in a world where growth requires spending it. And that's when something subtle shifts. You don't need to overpower your brain. You don't need to silence it. You just need to act alongside it, instead of arguing with it. Action doesn't have to feel confident. It doesn't have to feel exciting. Sometimes it only feels quiet and deliberate. A small step taken with full awareness of the resistance that's still there. That small step is often enough to break the loop, not because resistance disappears, but because momentum slowly replaces hesitation. And momentum, once it starts, costs less energy than standing still. Your brain will always prefer comfort. That will never change. But you can learn to recognize comfort without letting it make every decision for you. Seeing resistance clearly doesn't remove it, but it stops you from confusing it with truth. And that distinction is powerful, even if it feels subtle at first. You stop asking, "What's wrong with me?" and start asking, "What is this system trying to protect?" That question alone changes how you experience effort. And over time, those small, quiet actions add up. Not through force, but through understanding and repetition. Improvement stops feeling like a battle. It starts feeling like navigation, slow, intentional movement through systems that were never designed for growth. Your brain will always try to keep you safe. That's its job. Your job is to decide when safety is enough and when growth matters more. And that decision doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be quiet. It can be simple. It can look like one small step taken in the right direction. Because action doesn't begin when resistance disappears. It begins when you understand it and move anyway. That's when improvement becomes possible. Not easy, not effortless, but real. Quietly, gradually, one decision at a time. Not by changing who you are, but by understanding how your brain works and choosing how to respond to it. That understanding is the beginning of progress. Not motivation, not pressure, just clarity. And from clarity, action naturally follows.